You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. So, Jehovah's Witnesses made this video titled, For a Happy Marriage, Read God's Word. Because this is, of course, the solution to every marital problem, right? Reading God's Word. Check this out.
In a marriage, not applying Bible principles can lead to a lack of peace. As time passes, the differences in opinion and personality that arise can undermine the peace you once had. How can that peace so longed for be regained? Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 3 says, You will safeguard those who fully lean on you. You will give them continuous peace, because it is in you that they trust. Only Jehovah can give continuous peace to those who fully lean on Him. Abraham and Sarah, for example, had that peace because even during big life changes and difficult situations, they faithfully followed Jehovah's direction.
Bro, these people are so boring. Honestly, I'm sorry. Following Jehovah's direction in their mind equates to following the direction of the governing body, of Jehovah's Witnesses. And half of the stuff they say that you should, quote unquote, be doing or whatever isn't in the Bible. It's directly from them, from the governing body.
We can demonstrate our trust in Jehovah by searching out His advice in His Word, the Bible. Turning Bible reading into a habit can seem daunting, but it's worth the effort. Take advantage of every opportunity. See where you can make adjustments in your routine. The advice found in the Bible can lead to peace in your marriage. For example, Matthew chapter 7 and verse 12 says, All things, therefore, that you want men to do to you, you also must do to them.
What does that mean? Are they applying, like, love your neighbor as yourself to a marriage?
But after reading, don't forget the most important step. Apply what you learn. When a husband puts his wife's interests ahead of his own, she feels loved and valued, and vice versa.
Wow, so just love your wife. See how simple it is, guys? Just love your wife and love your husband. That's the biblical advice for marriage. Boom, you're done.
Another Bible principle found in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 5 says, Happy are the mild-tempered. By controlling our temper, we create an environment that is relaxed and peaceful. And while all are encouraged to read the Bible as individuals, if circumstances allow, consider doing so as a couple.
This is kind of infantilizing her, right? A little bit?
Talk about what you learned. Take advantage of the available study tools to learn all you can about Jehovah's marvelous qualities.
His marvelous qualities. So I came into this video for a happy marriage, read God's Word, and I was expecting them to tell us what in God's Word is going to help a marriage. And what did they say in the video? They said literally exactly what the title is. Read God's word. That's it. You're not going to give me anything? What use are you?
Without a doubt, this will draw you closer to Jehovah and will strengthen the threefold cord in your marriage.
The threefold cord in your marriage. Wait, what's happening now? Is he reading the Bible to his wife?
And even when life takes a turn and things get hard, you will still be able to feel the continuous peace that only Jehovah, the originator of marriage, can provide.
This is so weird, dude. I swear to God, these people are so weird. And, like, you don't realize just how fully weird they are until you come out of the religion. But my God, how did I ever put up with this? Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. So this dude did a video on Joe Rogan talking about Jehovah's Witnesses. I want to give it a listen, see what he had to say. It seemed pretty interesting. Exiles and Pilgrims. Let's see what he said.
And recently spoke out about Jehovah's Witnesses. And what he said wasn't just unflattering, it was dangerous to the organization. Not because it was harsh, but because it came from someone witnesses don't expect and aren't trained to dismiss.
Kurt is one of those guys that once he finds out something, that, you know, because he grew up in a cult, right?
Yeah.
So he's in a Jehovah's Witness cult when he was young.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jehovah's Witnesses.
I don't think this is new. I think this is an older Joe Rogan video because he's got the old background. But yeah, they totally are.
Comes a comedian and, you know, like he's so averse to bullshit. He's like, oh, no. Because, like, you f***ing ruined my childhood. I know what this is. I've seen this before. I've seen this in another form.
Mm-hmm.
I know what this is.
Here's why that matters. When a mainstream voice like Joe Rogan calls out Jehovah's Witnesses, it can reach people inside the organization who normally never hear criticism like this because they're actively told to avoid it.
Now, it's bad enough if people in the world believe everything they read in the newspaper. But brothers, let's not be among them. If they are the words of apostates, why would we believe them?
Yeah, so, oh my God, these are governing body members. This one is not Garrett Loesch. What the hell is this guy's name? Oh my God, I suddenly can't remember. But the next one's Tony Morris.
Stick with what we have authorized. You'll be safe.
But what happens when you're...
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love it, dude. Some of my favorite psychotic takes from the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses come from Stephen Lett.
Satan continues his work as an evil ventriloquist using not serpents, but human puppets to enunciate his voice, these acting as his agents, either wittingly or unwittingly. But now let's discuss 3 examples of how our fine shepherd tells us one thing, but Satan's underlings or strangers tell us something opposite. We know the Master Jesus found the faithful and discreet slave spiritually feeding right-hearted ones in 1919.
This is a big, complicated belief system about how they think that Jesus came back to Earth in 1914, roved around for a bit, and found Jehovah's Witnesses living according to God's standards and chose them as his representatives on Earth in 1919. So for 5 years, he wandered around looking for people. Anyway, the interesting part about that one is that Jehovah's Witnesses didn't exist at the time. They were the Bible students. And there was a split where they lost like 1/7 of their membership or whatever. Anyway, middle. They call themselves the faithful and discreet slave, which is a term from a parable of Jesus. They claim to basically be Jesus on earth, his representative. This is the bottom line.
And at a future time will appoint him over all his belongings. So what's the implication? Obviously, even now, Jesus fully trusts the faithful slave. And all of us, even individual members of the governing body, should do the same. But what does the voice of strangers say on this subject? Don't trust the faithful slave. He will mislead you. And who often have the loudest voice promoting this false message? Apostates.
Apostates coming to get you.
Hebrews 13:9 labels false messages as strange teachings. Yes, they are the teachings of strangers. Some examples of their strange teachings are that the faithful slave protects pedophiles.
Yeah, a little bit. They kind of do, as a matter of fact.
Or that slave will exploit you so they can live lives of luxury. Those are both bald-faced lies.
Okay, well, what's with the pinky ring? What's with the expensive watch here? One of them wears a Rolex. And this has been brought up to the governing body. Why are you wearing these insanely expensive things? And one of them said, I'm sorry, and the press office responded to somebody asking questions, basically saying some of the governing body members were independently wealthy before becoming Jehovah's Witness. That was the excuse. Bizarre. They are most definitely absolutely living in luxury. I don't know how anybody could deny that.
Watching or listening to something and your guard is down. That's why when someone like Joe Rogan says Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult, it matters more than you may think. And Joe didn't stop there. A few months later, he had a guy named Kurt Metzger on the show, who's a stand-up comedian. He's also a former Jehovah's Witness. And what he said might feel very familiar to many of us.
I know you accuse me of being secretly religious, but
I was kidding.
Well, I'm openly this. Jehovah's Witnesses, now they told me God was going to kill all of you by like 20 years ago, so it's awkward now for me, obviously. But
what's funniest about that comment is, of course, Joe laughed. And how could you not, right? But it's not even really a joke. As Jehovah's Witnesses, we were told that all our lives with a straight face. That Armageddon was coming, it was coming soon, and that all non-Jehovah's Witnesses would soon be killed.
Yeah, seriously. And people underestimate how intense it was for Jehovah's Witnesses, too. They did these things called Armageddon drills when I was little, and they're still doing them, I understand.
Okay, first things first, guys. Are you okay? Everybody's okay? No injuries? Okay. I need everybody to try to stay calm. Let's remember our family drills. That was a really big earthquake, and more than likely, we're going to have some pretty severe aftershocks. So right now, what we need to do is I need to go turn off the gas to the house. I need everybody to go get their go bags. Cass, can you grab mine too?
Go bags. They're supposed to have go bags.
Great. Let's go grab those. Let's go get that done, and let's meet back here.
Dan, the power's out. The light switch isn't even working. I'm trying to get a hold of Daddy, but I can't get a hold of him. You know what? We haven't had an emergency drill since we lived at the last house, and we were in a different service group. I don't even know where to meet. Oh, the line's busy. Why is it so busy? Okay, he texted me. He said, get our go bags ready just in case we need them. That his car's blocked in. He has to walk home. He doesn't know how long it'll be.
You know, one story stuck with me pretty hard. Lloyd Evans, years ago, he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness as well, said on his channel that when he was little, his parents told him, this is it. It's happening. It's real. Like, go up and get your stuff because we're leaving. Armageddon is here. And he goes up there and he's like thinking about his friends that he lost and everything. He'll never see the friends at school ever again. And he's grabbing like his, stuffed animals or whatever. And he runs downstairs and his parents click a button on a stopwatch and say, all right, you got 33 seconds on that one. That's pretty good. It really fucks you up. Seriously, to live in a heightened state of constant fear like that is a lot. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case some thing happens with the government or whatever, it would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too.
Okay, we're okay too. I don't know where the go bags are. Do you know where they are? Do you know where the go bags are?
See, she's a bad Jehovah's Witness because she doesn't know where the go bags are. She's not paying close enough attention and listening to the instructions of the governing body and all that other shit.
Mine might be in my closet. I gotta go dig for it. Okay, I'll look for mine too.
Okay, nice job. All right, now we need to text
Look, and in the background, you see this woman throwing stuff around.
Rusty, let him know where we are, how we're doing, and that we're all safe.
You know, during the quake, my phone broke and it had all of my numbers in it.
No, that's okay. We have our list. And by the way, thank you for grabbing all the go bags. Do we have the list?
I do, and I found Woody's go bag also, so I grabbed that. And yep, here's the list.
Excellent. Okay, great. So looking at everything we've got here, nice job. It looks like we've got everything that we need for the next 3 days. I was checking my phone when I turned off the gas. I don't have any cell service. Shai, do you have any service? Okay, all right, that's all right. We do have the landline. So Shai, if you could please go grab the landline and bring that back.
Wait, grab the landline and bring that back. How would one grab the landline if it's a landline? I don't understand, dude. Anyway, the point is they freak people out intentionally. Like they set out to make you feel like you're in a heightened state of awareness 24/7.
And yet, here you all are.
Anyways, the conversation goes on and it gets even more interesting.
People don't know you grew up Jehovah's Witness. You were, a long time ago, you were getting real upset about a lot of this woke. And I remember you saying this. No, I've seen this before. This is the same shit I saw in the Jehovah's Witness.
Now we're
this
back
is
to
the
it.
same shit before. And I remember being like one of the first times I was like genuinely alarmed about how really crazy ideas can spread. And really,
Wait, I'm sorry. Did he say woke a minute ago? Is he talking about people on the left are like Jehovah's Witnesses?
yeah, just outrageous behavior can become normalized.
Joe mentions crazy ideas spreading and how outrageous behavior can be normalized. And again, if you were a Jehovah's Witness, you know exactly what that's like. I mean, imagine a world where someone tells you that you're not allowed to talk to your kids anymore, or your parents, or your siblings, or your best friend. You can't talk to them anymore because they don't believe some of the ideas that you believe are true. So you just can't talk to them anymore.
Yeah, that sounds like a cult.
That sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happens in the Jehovah's Witness community with disfellowshipping. And even though it's outrageous, it gets socially reinforced as normal or even good within the JW culture.
The second part of that is, it's reminding me of that, but without the love and forgiveness of if you believed in Jesus. So they took the only good thing out of it.
Now, this is a great point. And unfortunately, growing up in a group like Jehovah's Witnesses can give a really poor representation of Christianity. Obviously, listen, you can have a bad experience in any denomination, but what many of us experienced as Jehovah's Witnesses wasn't historic Christianity. It was a poor man's version of Christianity. Not only do you have a flawed theology that's like a loose thread, where the more you pull, the more it unravels, but you also have a very judgmental environment where, at least historically, you were judged on everything from the way you dressed, your facial hair, the amount of hours you logged in service, and how many privileges you were reaching out for within the congregation. And the list goes on.
Let's say something's not...
Dude, it's bringing back PTSD over here. Not seriously, but talking about privileges that you're reaching for and everything. Like, Jehovah's Witnesses frame it all as... all the work that you do for them, it's a privilege that you get to, bring out the microphones and hook them up for people and hand them to people as they, are asking questions during the meeting and stuff. It's so cringy and painful.
Living up to what it should, and you said this was the solution to everything. But let's say there's something really bad you know about, like someone got molested, and you don't go to the cops, you handle it in-house, which is what they did and got sued for. The highest settlement...
yeah, they got sued out the ass for this stuff.
in American history, not the Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Now, I think he's talking about this case that was settled in 2023, where a victim of abuse by an elder within a Jehovah's Witness congregation received a $40 million settlement. I agree and disagree with this point. And here's what I mean. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think the presence of scandal rules out a religion as being from God. I mean, the Israelites had no shortage of scandals, and they were God's chosen people. And scandals continued in the early church. I mean, just look at the letters Paul sent to the Corinthians. But when you consider Jesus' parable of the weeds growing up alongside the wheat until the end, and many theologians apply that to the church, then we shouldn't be surprised to see scandals. Actually, we should expect them. As one of my favorite apologists, Matt Fradd, says, if you think you found the perfect church, join it, and it soon won't be.
I think if you're looking for the true church, and by the true church you mean the church of perfect people, then you won't find it. And if you did and then joined it, it wouldn't be, because you're abysmal.
What? I'm sorry. That's interesting.
Because we're all imperfect, and wherever there are people, there will be sin and scandal. But I think the real point being made here is that we were told as Jehovah's Witnesses that we were different. Our religion was different than every other religion. That the organization was clean, that they don't have these kinds of scandals.
Yep. That's one of the reasons why the child abuse situation hits Jehovah's Witnesses so hard, because they're uniquely above the way of the world. It's just not the same in Jehovah's Witnesses circles as in like Catholic circles. That's the mindset that they promote. And as a result, when a scandal does hit, it rocks Jehovah's Witness land, because it doesn't make any sense that this would be happening. I just created a new website, firesidewatch.com. You can watch videos with friends, and everybody can play or pause the video. I made it so I could collaborate with other YouTubers, but I figured I might as well make it available to everybody. On top of that, you can add videos to the queue, upvote them, and sort by most upvoted. Give it a look, firesidewatch.com. And while you're at it, check out my Patreon, owenmorgan.com/Patreon. You can follow me there for free.
But of course, that's not true. Many Jehovah's Witnesses just don't hear about any of the scandals because they're actively discouraged from paying any attention to negative news stories or anyone who might be criticizing the organization. So it's important for Jehovah's Witnesses to hear that, yeah, scandals happen in your organization too. Unfortunately, it happens everywhere.
Because they did what everybody does.
Sorry. Yep, that's true. It happens everywhere. The fact is, Jehovah's Witnesses don't uniquely have a pedophile problem. The Catholic Church does not uniquely have a pedophile problem. The problem is not with the churches. It's the fact that they're covering it up and hiding it and protecting these people from prosecution. That's the issue. Every demographic of people has this problem. I don't know what the estimate is, 4 or 5% of every demographic of atheists, of Catholics, of Protestants, of Muslims, of everybody has this problem. But are you going to protect those people from prosecution when you find out about it? It brings reproach on Jehovah's name, quote unquote, when Jehovah's Witnesses are accused of this. So they try to cover it up. I hope they've learned their lesson. I haven't heard recently of a court case where they're being sued over this, but something tells me that they haven't learned their lesson still.
They Epstein file, hide the files, handle it in-house. This could look bad. If you saw what I saw, you wouldn't release it either. All that bull. So don't tell me you're the one organization from God and you did that. And like, people ought to be kicked out for that. Because all the Bible stories I got taught, God would strike you with leprosy for that. You know?
Yeah. And this is the point I was just making. Basically, if you're going to make a case that your group, your religion is different from every other religion, and a big part of that argument is that you don't have any scandals, well, you're digging your own grave. Because when scandals inevitably come out, as they always do, well, now you're not so different after all.
Right. Exactly.
Now we take that off the table, and it becomes more about your beliefs, your doctrine.
And I'm the kind of chump that believes in the thing if I believe in it. So I'm a kind of poison for your group, because when you don't live up to it, I'm going to be a real about it, you know?
So obviously that conversation did not paint Jehovah's Witnesses very well. And here's why that matters. Witnesses are told to avoid anyone who speaks negatively about the organization. So speaking for myself, I didn't really encounter anything negative about the organization for the 27 years that I was in it, because I wasn't looking. And if I came in contact with anyone or anything that seemed even remotely negative about the organization, I shut it down fast. But what happens when you're listening to someone you like and even trust, and they say something that threatens your worldview? The truth can slip through. And
honestly, Jehovah's Witnesses don't watch Joe Rogan very often. I think it's extremely uncommon because they're not supposed to be involved in politics at all anyway. And Joe Rogan talks a lot about politics. He didn't used to, but it's like constant now. Although I guess my family did watch a lot of Jon Stewart, like The Daily Show when I was little. And even before Jon Stewart, they watched Craig Kilborn. I remember watching Craig Kilborn. I think my family would have been on the left if they had been political. I think they would have been on the left, surprisingly. But, it's not like acceptable to hold political opinions, so it didn't apply exactly.
It's not so easy to just forget it. The truth is kind of infectious like that. So whether you love or hate Joe Rogan, it doesn't matter. The fact is, he has a huge platform. He gets tens of millions of views on many of his episodes. Among his audience are at least some Jehovah's Witnesses. I personally know that. And when those witnesses heard these episodes, I bet it made them think, even for just a second. So if we want as many Jehovah's Witnesses as possible to wake up, then we need more people speaking out. We need more mainstream attention on this organization. Not all of us have huge platforms like Joe Rogan to get the word out, but we do have our own circles of influence, and you never know where your circle might overlap with a Jehovah's Witness. If you have an opportunity to talk to a Jehovah's Witness and share something with them that might make them think, even for a second, then take it. You might not see the fruits of your efforts right away or even ever, but you never know. The cracks might be starting to form underneath the surface, because truth doesn't always wake people up all at once, but it plants a question. And once that question is there, it often doesn't just go away. If you enjoyed this video...
that was pretty interesting. Yeah, I absolutely agree with all of that. It is valuable for Jehovah's Witnesses to be exposed to this stuff. Honestly, that's the benefit generally of protest. The benefit of protest is that it gets information into people's ears that otherwise wouldn't have access to this information, who otherwise wouldn't be exposed to it or be aware of it. People go out on the streets of New York City and just fill the streets with signs and all this stuff saying no kings, or saying hands off our Medicare and Medicaid and everything else. This stuff is it's something that people wouldn't be exposed to normally. It's something that people wouldn't be aware of. This grandma driving to church on Sunday doesn't watch any news or only listens to NPR or something. She wouldn't be aware of any of this normally. But you are forcing this information to be public, and that's incredibly beneficial, in my opinion. That's one of the main benefits of protest. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Really interesting video. Dude has 4,000 subbies, if you're interested in checking this out. Exiles and Pilgrims. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. I discovered fairly recently that the documents that are used to establish Hitler's religious beliefs are forged. And this isn't just a I just found this out thing. This is the scholarly community just found this out thing, or just established it beyond a shadow of a doubt. There are documents called Table Talk, Hitler's Table Talk, or a monologue, or there are some others. And here's how they came about. Basically, in the last few years of Hitler's life, he lived in a bunker or whatever they called Wolf's Lair, because his name means lone wolf, Adolf, a wolf. Anyway, the Wolf's Lair. So he would eat dinner with, his inner circle every night. And his secretary, Martin Bormann, was a staunch, hateful atheist. He hated Christians with the burning passion of 1,000 hot suns. And he kept trying to convince Hitler to do something about the churches. And Hitler kept saying, no, like, we need the church's support. We're not doing this right now. We'll think about it after the war. We'll talk about it or whatever. But in the last few years of Hitler's life, Bormann decided to secretly have Hitler's table monologues written down. He would go on a rant about some stupid thing, and Martin Bormann got his adjutant, Heinrich Heim, to sit at the kids' table in the corner and listen. And the next morning would go to his room and write down from memory the shit that Hitler talked about. We know this project existed in some form, but we don't have the notes. We don't have anything at all from March to August of, I think, 1942. Another guy stepped in for Heim named Picker. And Picker basically did the same thing. He would sit in the corner and he would listen to what Hitler was saying, and you would write it down later. He couldn't write it down on the spot because Hitler didn't know this was happening, and he found out, Hitler did, a couple of times, and was infuriated with Bormann and tore him a new asshole over it. So they had to hide it from Hitler that they were recording this. So he would just sit there and listen, and he would write it down the next morning. Not ideal for recording exactly what Hitler said, right? We know the project existed, but the original documents just are nowhere to be found. They don't exist. However, back in 1950-something, some random French dude named Ganaud appeared out of the woodwork with a French translation of these notes, allegedly. And he also had a copy of Hitler's diary, which was fake. He forged it. Ganaud forged Hitler's diary. So he didn't have the original documents, or he claimed to have the original documents, but he refused to let anybody see them. But he did have a French translation of these alleged documents and something else that he forged. He allowed this guy named Trevor Roper to translate the original German documents to English. Turns out Trevor Roper lied and translated it to English from the French. The chain of custody on these documents is so bad that Hitler's official biographer, Ian Kershaw, has said that they're completely untrustworthy and we should throw them out entirely. Like, we shouldn't trust a word out of table talk. Bormann added a bunch of stuff to notes that appear to have existed at some point that we don't have now. And where I said that Bormann said he wanted to take on the churches and Hitler said, we'll deal with that later. We're not dealing with that right now. Leave the churches alone. Bormann changed that to say, the church will have a reckoning after the war. He changed it to frame it as though Hitler was saying he hates the church and he's going to prove that after the war. It was nonsense. That shit never happened. Pretty much every negative thing that Hitler ever said about religion came out of table talk. It was fake. All of it. Every last bit. Let me give you some of the most ridiculous, egregious lies. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too. Ganaud was known for forging documents, including Hitler's fake diary that didn't exist. And we know for a fact that Bormann and Ganaud both inserted anti-Christian shit into these documents that were not there originally. All right, here are a few inflammatory things that were put on Hitler's lips that he never said about religion. Christianity is the worst of the regressions in mankind. Christianity is the worst of the regressions that mankind can ever have undergone. This is fake. That was put on Hitler's lips after the fact. It is not real. Explicit atheist-sounding declarations were all through table talk. That was added by Bormann and Ganaud. The dogma of Christianity gets worn away before the advances of science. That's fake. Hitler never said that. That was forged. That was from forged documents, faked documents. There are a lot of pro-Islamic statements in there that Ganaud added later because he hated the Jews. Naturally, he also hated Israel. And he was trying to basically support Palestine over Israel because he fucking hated Jews. So he put a lot of pro-Islamic words on Hitler's lips that he never said. There were a lot of anti-clerical rants from Hitler. He didn't like priests. He didn't like religious nutcases. And he didn't like institutions that he did not directly control. There's another thing that I put in my book where Hitler called priests black bugs and abortions in cassocks. That's fake. He never said it. I got that from Richard J. Evans, who I trusted. You know, I trusted the experts to have accurate and correct information on this subject. But when he wrote his Third Reich series, I suppose it makes sense that he just didn't realize that Table Talk was untrustworthy. A lot of this was established in 2003 by Richard Carrier, and then even more by Mikhail Nilsson in 2020. And it's now, in the past couple years, being widely accepted by scholars that Table Talk is fake. So I'm going to have to remove that from my book, that bit about priests being black bugs and abortions in cassocks. I've found that there are a few things that I can't fully trust the scholars on. For example, Richard J. Evans, basically the leading scholar in this field, he also says Trump is not a fascist. In 2021, after January 6th, he said Trump is not a fascist because he's an isolationist. He doesn't have an interest in fighting wars. He doesn't want to fight war with Iran or Venezuela or anything. I'm 100% real. Richard J. Evans said this. Another example of a scholar getting it incorrect, through no fault of their own, they didn't realize this, was Victoria Barnett telling me that the Christian denomination of the Nazis, it was called the German Christians, they wanted to name themselves the Christian Nationalists originally. And that's true. They did. I found evidence of it, hard evidence. It was suggested by a Gauleiter, or like a senator, named Kubi, and vetoed by Hitler himself because he wanted to use the name as like propaganda. So he named it the German Christians instead. Anyway, they wanted to name themselves the Christian Nationalists, and Victoria Barnett mistakenly said that they didn't want to name themselves that. They did. So you got to be careful you can't trust a single scholar on any one subject is the point, is what I've come to find. They're very, very accurate with a lot of stuff, and they should be trusted by and large. But some of the things that I've come across, show me that some of them have biases that slip into their stuff, is all. Bias isn't the reason why Victoria Barnett was incorrect. She just didn't know the story. But Richard J. Evans, it seems like bias to me, honestly. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Listen to what Nick Fuentes had to say the other day.
This is where it becomes a question of will. Can you now crush the protests? What is involved in this? People gotta die. Actually, people do have to die. I don't know how...
This is obviously in response to Alex Preddy being, executed in the streets. This dude did literally nothing wrong. Nothing. ICE pushed a woman down. He walked over to help her stand up, and they threw him to the ground and pulled a gun out and shot him in the back 10 times. The news, this is how political activism works. In legal circles, you find the perfect plaintiff. For example, Rosa Parks was on that bus on purpose. It was planned that she was going to be on that bus. And it was planned that she was going to be in a section that was blacks only. And when a white person comes on the bus, they move the slider further back to make room for the white people. And any black people that are in the blacks only section where the slider now moves back, they have to move back to match the slider. They put her on that bus, on that specific bus on purpose, because that's how political activism works. She has to have a flawless background. She has to be a perfect plaintiff. There was another woman that this happened to before Rosa Parks who had had an abortion in her past, if I remember correctly, and they didn't bring her case to the Supreme Court because they knew that people were going to destroy her over that. Rosa Parks was flawless as a plaintiff. The news latched on to Alex Preddy specifically because this is a perfect example of ICE executing somebody with no justification. Okay, he was an ICU nurse. He didn't have a criminal background. He wasn't an immigrant. He wasn't anything that the right could latch on to and destroy his reputation over. And it was completely ICE's fault in this situation. It was 100% ICE's fault in every way, shape, or form. And even worse than that, he was legally carrying a firearm that he didn't even touch. He was the perfect plaintiff. There is no reason for anybody to support his death, but the right is doing it anyway. Nick Fuentes is doing it anyway. It's wild to hear the right. Do they not have whiplash from jumping from position to position so much? And Nick Fuentes is unhappy right now that there aren't more deportations. In fact, he said, I know the economy is going to be destroyed by deporting all of these people because these people support the economy. I know that's going to happen, and I still want it to happen.
People don't expect this. How is this not reasonable? All of this is justified. You know, what level of force do you think is acceptable? You want to deport 1 million people per year. We're deporting 250,000 and a couple of people died. If you think that is too heavy-handed and extreme, how are we going to get those numbers up 4 times?
Right? That is Nick Fuentes' perspective on this. It's going to get ugly. Okay? He wants it even more ugly. It's already ugly. And you are breaking right now at this point when it's not even as ugly as he wants it to be. The point is he wants to bring it even further. He wants to make the situation even more extreme, and the United States is already not happy with the situation. But Fuentes wants to go full actual fascist. He wants to, start murdering people in the streets, like full on. Like he can say this was an accident, and he does say that Alex Preddy's thing was an accident. He doesn't want it to be an accident anymore. He wants this to be intentional. He wants ICE to intentionally murder people. Psychotic.
We need something more radical and more extreme and more intense.
The problem with this, with his plan or whatever to make things more radical and intense, is that when you make things more radical and intense, when you ratchet up the tension and the pressure like this, you create martyrs. Alex Preddy is a martyr. Renee Good is a martyr. And you lose public support when there are martyrs like this. You are not popular when you do things like this. This is the type of thing that makes conservatives lose. And Nick Fuentes knows that. He knows conservatives are losing the culture war. He knows that they are as unpopular as they have ever been and will continue to be very, very unpopular as a result of what's happening right now. He doesn't give a fuck. He wants to force extreme behavior. I just created a new website, firesidewatch.com. You can watch videos with friends, and everybody can play or pause the video. I made it so I could collaborate with other YouTubers, but I figured I might as well make it available to everybody. On top of that, you can add videos to the queue, upvote them, and sort by most upvoted. Give it a look, firesidewatch.com. And while you're at it, check out my Patreon, owenmorgan.com/Patreon. You can follow me there for free.
Than anybody thinks is reasonable right now. That is what needs to happen. ICE has not gone far enough. Trump and the National Guard have not gone far enough. What's the answer to Trumpism? We need to build upon Trumpism. We need to deepen it. We need to expand it. We need to make it more radical. We need somebody in 2028 that makes Donald Trump look like a joke. That's the only solution. That's what makes me worried. When I see people crying about a couple of dead left-wing protesters, you are simply not prepared for what has to happen next. There needs to be a lot more.
That is a psychotic thing to say.
ICE. There needs to be a lot more of that sort of thing before we take our country back.
Well, I have bad news for Nick. They're not taking the country back. Okay. This was their one and only shot. And honestly, they could have turned this into a full dictatorship, and it's close to that, but they didn't. They lost their chance. They should have done it after Charlie Kirk. If they were going to do it at all, they should have done it after Charlie Kirk. They could have sent the military into the streets, like actual military into the streets. They could have just started, summary executions. They could have done public firing squads of protesters. They could have gone door to door looking for Democrats. And I believed that we were going to see pogroms. I believed that we were going to see it, but we didn't. It's bizarre. Check this clip out from Nick Fuentes. I talked about it the other day, but it's worth talking about one more time since we're on the subject.
You feel bad about this race traitor?
Alex Preddy, the race traitor.
That's what they are. You feel bad about this lesbian poet and Alex Pretty, the male nurse? You feel sorry for these race traitors that laid down their life in defense of this scheme? You can't plead ignorance. They're in their late 30s. Renee Good was 38. This guy was 37. What is the excuse? These are not college kids that got misguided. These are not college kids that don't know any better. These are full-grown adults. We are in the post-COVID era. We are thoroughly in the Trump era. If you don't get it at this point, you're irredeemable. If you're out there throwing yourself in front of ICE to die for these dirtbags, let them. Let them. One less asshole in the world.
Like, you can say that all you want, but this is how you lose in the marketplace of ideas. Like, people talk about a civil war or guerrilla warfare or whatever. The reality is this does not work. The reality is guerrilla warfare only works for invading armies. It works to stop invading armies from being successful sometimes, because it makes it really hard to administrate. And it makes it so they have to put more and more and more money into administration and more resources and time and effort and everything else. But when you're dealing with trying to topple a dictatorship and turn it into a democracy again, guerrilla warfare doesn't work. You need to change the hearts and minds of the people. And we are. You know how that happens? Through martyrs, through people dying for the cause, like Alex Preddy and Renee Good. That's how you change people's minds. And if you want to read more about this, by the way, if you're curious which books I read to give me insight into this, one of the most useful was, From Dictatorship to Democracy by Gene Sharp. That was really good. How Democracies Die was pretty interesting. But From Dictatorship to Democracy was written in 2010, and it wasn't about Trump. It had nothing to do with him. He wasn't even on the stage at the time. It's about Eastern Bloc European countries that fell to dictatorship after the Soviet Union collapsed. And then the people destroyed the democracies from within. Destroyed the dictatorships from within and turned them into democracies. That's what that book is based on. At the end of the day, what I've come to find is that we are actually winning right now. The left is winning in America. It doesn't feel like it, but we are actually winning. And every last one of these people are they are all and if they're still in ICE, it means they don't realize how they are yet. If they're in ICE right now, honestly, at this point, they should have changed their name and left the country, because what's coming for ICE is not going to be pretty for all of these people who are responsible, are guilty of these crimes. They are going to pay for their crimes.
One less traitor in the world. That's what I say. There's no moral equivalency. People say, oh, well, they're a U.S. citizen and all this kind of stuff. Well, they're not acting like citizens.
Anyway, Fuentes is a complete piece of shit, honestly. Disgusting, vile shit. These people are going to be in bad shape before long. Tell me what you think in the comments. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This video just dropped. It's a leak of what the hell is his name? Of Bovino talking to his ICE officials.
Arrest as many people that touch you as you want to. Those are the general orders. All the way to the top, everybody gets it if they touch you. You hear what I'm saying?
Everybody gets it if they touch you.
Less legal? We're going to look at shipping tractor trailer loads of that in here. So
less than lethal. He's saying rubber bullets and pepper spray. We're going to be shipping tractor trailer trucks full of less lethals. By the way, You notice he didn't say non-lethals because they're not non-lethal. They blind people, they maim people, they do all kinds of terrible like, you shouldn't be using this stuff. These rubber bullets or whatever. They're not rubber. They don't bounce off your skin. They leave a massive bruise and they break bones. He's shipping truckloads of it in, he says.
You catch what it's all about us now. It ain't about them. Professional, legal, ethical, moral. You know what we're talking about. Legal, ethical, moral. You're on camera. But other than that, it's what we do.
Legal, ethical, moral don't apply, is what he's saying. You're on camera, so you might have to pay the price if somebody catches you on camera doing something, and if they can track you down behind your mask. I.e., keep your mask on, and you can do literally whatever you want to people, is the point here.
City.
This is gonna hurt, they said at the end. Did you catch that? This is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. Shit is disturbing. And, like, that's Trump's goons, but look at just normal people. Just look at what normal MAGA nutcases are saying about this.
The Biden years, they just opened the gates and let the country get flooded with these people.
That's just nonsense, but okay.
And we have to pay for it. I don't want to pay for them. So I'm glad that they're up there, and they should be everywhere. And I know they're in a lot of other states rounding up people and getting them out of here. They're illegals. They're criminals. Get them out.
But they're not criminals is the problem. They're grabbing people who are not criminals, who are just living their fucking lives and contributing to the economy. I want people to really think about what I'm about to say, because this is 100% real. There is no downside to immigration. There is no bad thing about immigration. They commit less crime. They make the GDP go up faster than we can birth our way into it. There is nothing bad about it. So what's the complaint? With immigration, the complaints from people like this, from MAGA nutcases, pretty much entirely routes back to racism and nothing else. Notice they're not really going after people with white skin complexion. Notice they're not going after German immigrants. It's largely Somali immigrants or Haitian or Mexican or whatever. They're attacking people who don't deserve it.
I think it's amazing. I say deport all illegals. We need to. We have to. We have.
Why? What's the downside here? Please, somebody articulate a downside for me.
Absolutely no choice, and I hope Donald Trump keeps his word.
Amen.
It's just difficult all around. I feel bad for people who are stuck in a situation like living in that city when I think the law enforcement is not being given the freedom to do their job. I feel bad.
What the hell does that mean?
For the people who are caught in the crossfire. I feel bad for the agents who are having their job disrupted.
It's too bad that they died, but a lot of this is their own doing. You can't interfere with these people when they're trying to enforce the law.
You can't literally just stand there and film. That's it. That's called accountability, Jagoff. People should be allowed to make sure government officials are accountable. Our government officials should be accountable. They should not be allowed to wear masks. That's fucking insane. How can anybody defend this?
I also think it's sad that our country is in this position that it is right now.
What position? Why?
Where it has to come to this. It has to come to this kind of a situation to undo the wrong that has already been.
What wrong? What wrong? What's going on? Like, what's bad about immigration? These people, I swear, are broken inside. This is Fox News at work. Like, when Trump is gone, we're still going to have a Fox News problem that we have to grapple with. They are the chief propagandists of this administration, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. And then there's this one.
I'm a Republican, and I don't like guys. I love them. And if you're an ICE agent here in Texas, I have some white monsters ready for you boys because I want you caffeinated and motivated so you can deport every scammy Somalian, every terrorist Muslim, and every Haitian that is eating our dogs and cats. I stand with my ICE agents. And when you boys see this, let me join a raid so I can put the handcuffs on an illegal.
Insane, dude. What broke in these people's brains that makes them think it's okay to treat people this way? It's wild. Okay, do you guys remember like that church debacle where they went inside and protested a church because the pastor of the church is an ice field director. I just created a new website, firesidewatch.com. You can watch videos with friends, and everybody can play or pause the video. I made it so I could collaborate with other YouTubers, but I figured I might as well make it available to everybody. On top of that, you can add videos to the queue, upvote them, and sort by most upvoted. Give it a look, firesidewatch.com. And while you're at it, check out my Patreon, owenmorgan.com/Patreon. You can follow me there for free. I talked about this previously, but there's more info that I want to hit. But just let me update you here.
You can see all these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters.
So they went inside of this church and they protested it after they said their final prayer. So worship was over. They actually went in before the service and they sat for the service. So at the end of the service, they stood up and they started basically yelling shame to the pastor, who's the ice field director for Minnesota. That's what happened. And now there's this big, massive blow up from the Trump administration, charging them with crimes, with the FACE Act, which is designed to protect abortion clinics, and with the Klan Act, which is designed to protect black churches from being harassed by the KKK, none of which applies to what happened here. This is effectively a Kingdom Hall crashing, what happened. Well, as it turns out, I completely forgot this. This woman is named Valentina Gomez, running for Congress. I believe that she was actually, she's MAGA, but she was, her opponent was endorsed by Trump because she's a little bit too crazy for Donald Trump, of all people. But check this out.
I quoted the Bible at a church and they escorted me out.
I quoted the Bible at a church and they escorted me out.
I would say Romans 1:32, homosexuality is a sin, and whoever supports that is worthy of death.
She protested them during their service, I suppose. These people wait until after. She doesn't have a good reason to protest them. What is she even protesting? They're protesting the fact that this pastor claims to be like Jesus or teaches about Jesus and is literally an ice field director. That's a worthy cause. Hers is not. But she didn't get charged with a crime. She didn't get charged with the FACE Act or the Klan Act. In fact, MAGA ate this up. They loved it. This went viral in MAGA circles. Isn't it funny how their outrage is selective? They love it when their political opponents are getting hurt or being attacked or criticized or whatever. And they love it when their political opponents are being put in jail for doing the same shit that people have, for protesting, simple protesting.
You're not a pastor.
You're not a pastor, you're a groomer, she says.
Groomer. It's a satanic pedophile church. Leave your pride behind, get on your knees, and follow Jesus Christ. Ask God for forgiveness.
Follow Jesus Christ like our ice field director, right?
Following Jesus Christ is the way that you live the life. Do not use his name in vain, because that's exactly what this church is doing. He's using his name in vain. This church is an abomination. All of you are an abomination. When I'm in Congress, I'm taking away the 501(c)(3) status of pedophile churches and terrorist mosques. We will ban halal, hijabs, and once their terrorist funding dries...
Wait, I'm sorry. You will ban halal? What do you mean by you will ban halal? Doesn't that just mean food that is safe for Muslims to eat, like chicken or like beef or whatever? You're going to ban halal? I don't understand.
I'm going to start buying them and tearing down every mosque one by one. I look forward to making Texas the worst place for groomers and terrorist Muslims to live in, so help me God. Jesus is King.
Powered by Jesus Christ, she said. Anyway, she also did this.
Daughters will be raped and your sons beheaded unless we stop Islam once and for all.
This is a pretty risky video for me to play, but I feel like it's newsworthy and important to talk about.
We're done turning the other cheek. Remember, David didn't pray for Goliath. He killed them. America is a Christian nation, so those terrorist Muslims can off to any of the 57 Muslim nations. There is only one true God, and that is the God of Israel.
Jesus Christ, dude. She is psychotic. Anyway, the point is the right is losing their collective shit right now because a church was protested. But they don't give a fuck when other people do it. They only care when the left protests. They selectively find things that they don't like about protest, and they bitch about it nonstop. These people are vile and empty, and I don't think we have any reason to expect them to gain principles overnight. All right, I need to grab this. I did find the video I was looking for. All legal, legal, yeah.
In Jasper County, motherfuckers, I'm coming for you. Yeah, motherfuckers, I'm coming for you. Yeah. All legal yeah, legal. We'll do it on your terms, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm downloading this. All legal, legal. Yeah. YouTube will do it on your terms, motherfuckers. I love it, dude. It's probably my favorite video ever. Although there's also this one.
Please, President Trump. Please, I hope you have a plan. God, please save us. Save us from the devil, please.
That may be, that's number 2. I still love this one to death.
Our government needs stopped. Stopped.
God, it's so insane, dude. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.